My goodness, the crowd is growing. It's Rick. Hello. The Hangout is on the air. It says it's on the air. So Rick and Chris and Larry, there's Larry jumped on. Good to see you guys. I was beginning to wonder if anybody was coming today. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to another exciting edition of Lunch with Len. It's Tuesday. We know what day it is. I gave a lot of thought to what we should talk about today on Lunch with Len, and I thought we should talk about politics. Anybody game? I'm joking.
See ya. No, I'm just kidding.
Huh?
I said, see ya.
I am joking. Larry, Rick, and Chris. Is this Larry or is it the mean Lawrence? Anyway, you know what? Hang on.
It's weird. I can't chat.
You can't? Why not?
It won't let me. That's odd. Huh. Okay.
That is strange.
Yeah. All right.
I see hello.
Oh, you do see that? Does anybody else see that?
It didn't show up over in the chat. It showed up above in a little window above your picture.
Yeah, that's weird. All right. Well, I'll figure it out. I might have to go back and come back in.
Okay. Well, if you disappear, I'll know why.
Yep.
Anyway, I thought I'd do something a little bit different today than we've done in a while, and that is that bye, Laura, the incredible disappearing Laura. She bounced. She's gone. Maybe she's coming back. I had reason to pick up Tony Robbins' book again recently, Money Master the Game. The reason I picked it up again is because I was watching a video on YouTube in which Tony was being interviewed and he was being interviewed actually by Brendan Burchard, which is a really interesting interview, and I know you can find it. But it brought me full circle, brought me back to Tony's book and got me looking at it again. I read it about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. It's been out for 2 years. And it started me, there we go. I can see everyone. Oh, you can see the chat now?
Yeah, now I can see the chat.
Interesting, strange. Anyway, where I'm going with that is, personally, I find the topic of money to be absolutely fascinating, and I also find that I have to revisit it every now and then to remind myself of some of the fundamental principles. And maybe a year and a half ago, I did a talk about some of the fundamental principles of wealth and finance, and I thought I'd revisit that. So I did, and I want to do that with you today. So I hope there's going to be value in this for you. I find that for me, I have to go back. I have to revisit this stuff and remind myself of what the important principles are. So I'm going to actually do a screen share, and Laura's going to tell me that you can actually see my screen. So I should be presenting to everyone, and you should see a slide.
Yep, we see it.
Cool. All right.
Better.
All right. For those of you who have been around me for a while, you may have seen this presentation, or you may have seen bits and pieces of it in various forms and places. It's all based on, it all comes from T. Harv Eker, Tony Robbins, and Jack Canfield. I mean, this is a compilation of ideas about money, wealth, and you that comes from people that are very knowledgeable on the subject. And, you know, in Tony's book, Tony Robbins, in this book, Money Master the Game, outlines a 7-step program for mastering your financial future. And guess what step 1 is? The first step of the program is, very simply, you have to be 100% responsibility for your life if you want to win this game. It doesn't do to be 99% responsible. The statement in the top, rich people believe I create my life, poor people believe life happens to me, comes directly from T. Harv Eker. It's one of his wealth principles. And it's really absolutely true. if you look around yourself, you can identify the people that you know bloody well they're never going to make it. And how do you know that? Because they don't take responsibility for themselves, because they're always pointing outside themselves. They're always finding blame. If you fall into that trap of wanting to push blame outside of yourself, you're not going to win the game. You have to be 100% responsibility for yourself, 100% responsible. And, it's easy to say, well, God, I had to buy that new car. I had to buy, well, the kids needed clothes for school, I've got all this credit card debt because the reality is you were the one holding the credit card every time it was used. You were standing at the cash register. That's a direct quote from Diane Hochman, by the way. And the reality is that no matter what the reasons are, you're responsible. You ran up the charge. You did it. And if you continue to find other people to point fingers to, or other reasons to point outside of yourself, you will never get the situation under control. Remember, there's an affirmation that comes from T. Harv Eker's Wealth Weekends. I create my life. I create the exact amount of my financial success. And you got to absolutely 100% believe that. And I'm going to challenge you, each and every one of you who are listening to this broadcast today or listening to it in the future. Do you have what T. Harv Eker calls a financial freedom account? Have you begun to save money, or do you say, well, I don't have enough money. I can't save money. I don't have any. When I have money, I will start to save money. When I have enough money, I'll begin to learn how to manage money. And if you have any of those kinds of attitudes, I will promise you, you're never going to win the game. You're setting yourself up for disaster. The reality is, no matter how little you think you have, you are very wealthy compared to about 95% of planet Earth. And it would behoove you to take 10% minimum, and T. Harv Eker recommends either 10 or 20%, but it would behoove you to take 10% off the top every time you get a check, for whatever reason you got one, and put it into a special account. And you say, well, I don't have enough money. If I take 10%, it's not going to be very much. That's okay. Not very much is okay. Tony Robbins tells the story of a person who never made more, and I forget if the number was $14,000 or $17,000, but it was a rather small number. The person never made more than either $14,000 or $17,000 a year in his lifetime. More, never one time. When he died, he had $70 million in the bank. Now, I'm not advocating saving your money till you die. That's not a particularly good idea either. How did he go from $14,000 or $17,000 a year to $70 million in the bank? Well, the answer is he started young. I know, I can hear it already. I'm too old to start young. I say that to myself too. I've heard myself say that to myself, and I've had to catch myself. I'm too old to start young is a recipe for disaster. This person started at a relatively young age and saved a little bit every month, and he enjoyed the benefit of compound interest, which has been called one of the 7 wonders of the world, compound interest. So don't make excuses. If you want to solve your financial problem, take 100% responsibility for yourself, establish yourself a freedom account, begin to put some money in it every month, and challenge yourself to begin to manage money. I am a good money manager, one of T. Harv Eker's affirmations. Next, rich people play the money game to win. Again, another T. Harv Eker. Poor people play the money game to not lose. Now, there's a huge difference between winning and not losing. The big goal of poor people is to have enough money to pay the bills, and maybe even on time for a change. How about that as a concept? I want to pay my bills next month, and if I'm lucky, I might be able to pay them on time. And if your goal is to pay your bills, that's all you'll ever get. And the reason is, think about the law of attraction and how it really works. If your goal is to have enough money to just pay the bills, first off, that's all you're going to get. Secondly, by law of attraction. Secondly, You're probably not even going to get that much. Why? It's like we've talked about before with affirmations. If your goal is to simply have enough money to pay the bills, that means you're sitting there worrying about not having enough money to pay the bills. Your energy is focused on not having enough. That's where your focus is. And if that's where your focus is, that's where you're going to go. That's what the law of attraction is going to give you. You're focused on not having enough. And as long as you're focused on not having enough, you're not going to have enough. So the big goal of poor people is just to have enough money to pay the bills. Middle class people want to be comfortable. There's a huge difference between being comfortable and being rich. As T. Harv Eker says, if you plan to, I'm not sure if T. Harv Eker said this or Jack Canfield said it. I think it might have been Jack Canfield. If you plan to be comfortable, you'll never be rich. If you plan to be rich, you'll probably be very comfortable. But you need to have a plan, and the plan's got to be bigger than having enough money to pay the bills next week. Take out a piece of paper. Write down on that piece of paper your financial goal. How much money do you want to have, and when do you want to have it by? Make it big, make it bold, make it, we talked about goals before. Goals should be something that scare you. They should be big enough to scare you, but small enough to be realistic. Can you generate a goal for yourself that is big enough to scare the hell out of you and small enough to be realistic? And if you're making, let's say you have one of those vendor JOBs and you make $50,000 a year. So write down a goal that says I want to have $1 million and I want to have it in 5 years. Maybe that's a little bit unrealistic at this moment in time, but maybe having 100,000 saved away in the bank in say 3 to 5 years is a realistic goal. Big enough to be scary, small enough to be realistic. I don't know what works for you. I know what works for me. I know what my goals are. And remember, goals are stepping stones across the pond of life. Just because you set a goal doesn't mean it's the end all and the be all, because the day you reach that goal will be the day that you decide there's another goal that's even bigger and better. So don't worry about it. But if you set a goal that's too big, your brain will shut down. You'll just keep telling yourself, I can never get there. I don't have a chance. It's not going to work. It's not for me. That won't happen. And you shut down. So make the goal big enough to be scary and small enough that your brain can wrap itself around it and believe that it can happen for you. Develop a financial plan, in other words. Begin the development of a financial plan. Now, if you don't have a financial plan, I strongly, highly, completely, totally, unequivocally recommend Tony Robbins' book. Now, this is not a weekend light read. It's only 636 pages. I mean, yikes. I don't know.
What's the name of the book?
What's that?
What's the name of the book?
It's Tony Robbins, Money, Master the Game. By the way, you can get it for free right now. I'll give you a link in a little bit or show you where to find a link. And it's an incredibly good book. One of the things, for those of you who haven't been dug into the money world, by the way, the first step in Tony Robbins' book of the 7 principles or the 7 steps to financial freedom, step number 1 is take complete, total, 100% responsibility for your own life and finances. And he starts off with the same thing that T. Harv Eker starts off with, and that Jack Canfield starts off with, and Napoleon Hill. I mean, all of these people, they all tell us the same thing. You got to be 100% responsible. Step number 2 is you got to learn the rules of the game. Now, if you're like me, most of us, many of us, in fact, I argue to say most of us, grew up in an environment where we were told money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think I'm made of? Money, blah, 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 blah. My family talked about, there was a rich guy down the street, and they talked about how he must have done something shady to get that much money. We talk about being filthy rich. Have you ever heard the term filthy rich? That guy's filthy rich. Well, we associate being dirty somehow with having money. And if you have any of these kinds of associations, you've got to work through this stuff and get it out of your brain, because that stuff is going to stop you back. Your subconscious mind is not going to let you do something that you consider to be dirty, bad, ugly, filthy. Well, unless you're a bank robber, then I guess it's all right, or you like to run dope. But for the most of us, our subconscious brain isn't going to let us. Our subconscious mind isn't going to let us do something that we associate a lot of negativity with. So we got to clean out the old wealth files and replace them with new ones. If you haven't read T. Harv Eker's book, again, I strongly recommend T. Harv Eker's book. An incredibly good book, and it's a short book. It's a book you can read and digest in a weekend, and it's a book you can read more than once. If you have never gone to one of T. Harv Eker's Millionaire Mindset webinars, it's a 3-day event and it's free. And he has them all over the country. And if one comes to your area and you've never been to one, I would recommend it. I've been to a couple of them, and they really are mind changing. They really do help you get your mind wrapped around some of this stuff. By the way, we're 20 minutes in, and I've only got 90% of the presentation left to go, so we're not going to finish today. I was thinking we're going to do this in 2 parts. So anyhow, rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play the money game to not lose. There's a huge difference, and you got to focus your mind on what it is you really want. And if you're sitting there worried about paying the bills next month, you're setting yourself up. You got to develop that financial plan. You got to put a goal out there that you can shoot for. Next, rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people just want to be rich. Another T. Harv Eker principle. Do you really want to be rich? Do you really want to have money? Do you really want to be financially free? Or do you just sort of hope maybe it'll happen someday? Do you really want that house on the lake and that sailboat, or do you just sort of hope that it'll happen someday? There's a big difference. You got to commit. According to Art Williams, the number one problem that keeps people from winning in the United States today is a lack of belief in themselves. Do you believe that you deserve to have wealth? Do you believe that you deserve to have financial freedom? Do you believe that you can get there? Napoleon Hill, remember, he said the same thing. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But we've learned that the brain responds to previous experience and belief about what it expects to have happen. Your brain is a filing cabinet. The minute you say money, it reaches down into its filing cabinet and pulls out all the files that you've got stored away in there about money. It pulls out all those files about what your mom said and your dad said and your aunt and your uncle said, and et cetera, et cetera. And if those files are still active, if you haven't overwritten them, if you haven't gotten rid of them, then you've got a problem. You still got to work on them. And so whether you believe in affirmations, afformations, however you want to approach it, you got to erase those old files and replace them with new ones. You got to replace them with a money consciousness that says this is good, because you got to think about it another way. Why did our families tell us that money was bad, that money was evil? There was this old quote in the Bible, money's the root of all evil. That's not exactly, as I've heard, that's not exactly what the Bible says. The Bible said the love of money is the root of all evil. And what it meant by that is loving money for money's sake. But here's the deal. 49 million people go to bed in America every day not knowing where their next meal is coming from tomorrow. 17 million of them are children. If you have money, you can help. Tony Robbins feeds 100 million people a year. Just let that settle in for a moment. Tony Robbins' net worth is about $500 million. It's not quite 5. It's somewhere in that ballpark. He feeds 100 million people a year through the Feed America Foundation and the Tony Robbins Foundation. All of the proceeds from the sale of his book, Money Master the Game, are going toward feeding hungry people. Bill Gates has a foundation where they've pledged to give away half of their wealth, him and many other people that are wealthy on the planet. There's a lot of things you can do with money. Change your perspective on money. Don't think of money as bad. Think of it as the lubricant that will let you do more things. For me, and those of you who know me know this, for me, having more money doesn't mean that I have money. It means that I have the ability to help. Many of you know that I already have a baby elephant adopted. I want to do more to help elephants. You've seen me talk about elephants again in the last week or so, because to me it's a travesty beyond imagination what's happening with elephants, wolves. So and of course children. I mean, feeding children. So there's all kinds of things. The more money you have, the more money you make, the more money you earn, the more things you can do, the more you can help people and help other things that you believe in. So anyhow, continuing on with Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill tells us that somewhere in our makeup there lies sleeping the seed of achievement, which if aroused and put into action will carry us to great heights. So where is your seed of achievement? What is it that you want to commit your life to? What's your legacy? What do you want to leave behind? And what holds you back today? The number one reason people don't get what they want is they don't know what they want with certainty. They are wishy-washy, unsure. They send confusing, mixed messages to the universe. This comes from Jack Canfield, and it also comes from Art Williams again. Having a clear picture, a goal, a plan of what you want is essential. And I personally think that early childhood programming is partially, again, at fault for this. It leaves negative money thoughts that impact our ability to pursue our dreams. When we begin to focus on what it is we really want, our subconscious brain, our subconscious mind digs into the old files and pulls up all this crap and keeps hammering us with, well, that's not for me, that's not possible, I'm not good enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not this enough, that enough, etc. We've got these negative files that we've just got to get rid of. And that's, I think, to a great extent, what holds many of us back, those old negative money files that have to be overwritten. And Hill devotes a whole chapter of his book, Think and Grow Rich, to autosuggestion. And some people, autosuggestion is the same as affirmations. And some people have claimed that affirmations don't work. And I personally believe that affirmations work. But I believe that affirmations are like going to the gym. If you go once, you don't get much of a result. If you go once a week, you don't get much of a result. If you go once a day, you can begin to get a result, but you got to go once a day or maybe 2 or 3 times a week or something. You got to go consistently for a sustained period of time. Remember, the negative files were written in over a long period of time. We hear the word 400,000 times in our young life. I forget what all the numbers are, but the numbers are sort of staggering, how much negativity we get. And we even get more of it these days with the television and stuff and all the social media and newspapers growing up. We get written with negativity. It takes a long time and a lot of effort, I believe, to overwrite the negative files, to pull them out, clean them up, and throw them away. So my suggestion, don't give up. And if you don't like affirmations, then try afformations. And we've talked about afformations. And if anybody would like to revisit that, we can, not today, but we can revisit what are affirmations. There's a book called Afformations, as you know, and it's a really good book. So affirmations is really simply turning your affirmations around into questions. Like, why am I making so much money? Why am I so wealthy? Why am I so happy? Why am I making so much progress? Why is my team growing? Why are people attracted to me? Why am I a leader? These are examples of affirmations. And when you ask your mind a question, it is forced to go find an answer. That's how your mind works. So if you say to yourself, why am I so wealthy? Your mind will immediately begin to think of all the reasons you are already wealthy. You can, as I've said before, you can walk to your kitchen and turn on water. That's a privilege denied to over a million, I think it's over a billion people on Earth. There's over a billion people on Earth that don't have a toilet. You have, each and every one of us has so much to be thankful for, so much to be grateful for, and so much wealth in our lives. We tend to not realize it because we're immersed in it. But you can change your thinking and you can get rid of the negative files. So, the attainment of wealth must be preceded with an absolute belief that it is possible for you. And if you don't believe that, it won't happen. Rich people think big, poor people think small. Napoleon Hill tells us that man can create anything he can imagine. That being the case, we have a choice. We can either think big or we can think small. Which will you choose? You got to think. You have a choice. Think big. But once again, I think the universe supplied creativity was suppressed dramatically and forcefully as we were trained. In school, we were taught not to think. One of the reasons Napoleon Hill's second book, Conversations with the Devil, and I don't think that's the exact name, but one of the reasons his second book was suppressed for so long by his family is one of the things he took on politics, he took on the education system, he took on a lot of things. You know, if you went to public schools, basically, and maybe even private schools, basically you were taught to sit down, shut up, and do what you're told. Creative thinking was suppressed. The school system was designed to produce factory workers, did a damn good job of it. Unfortunately, there's not very many jobs left in factories these days. So what is it that you're going to do with all that stuff? We have to think big. We have to have goals and dreams, and we have to get our imagination functioning again and working for us. Rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. Every opportunity has an obstacle. Every obstacle has an opportunity. So what's your outlook on life? Is that glass half full or half empty? Do you habitually think about what if the worst happens? Or do you think, what if the best happens? Do you expect the best or fear the worst? Are your decisions fear-based? Or I learned this a long time ago. I used to make a lot of negative-based decisions. I'd sit in the condo looking out the window at the ski resort, wondering if it's going to be cold today, and thinking, maybe today's going to be too cold. Maybe I don't want to go out there. I quit all that stuff. I learned to turn that all around into today's going to be awesome. Today's going to be wonderful. How many of you get out of bed in the morning and just, as part of your early morning routine, say to yourself, today is going to be an awesome day? I have a morning routine that I do every morning. It's sort of actually the third thing, but anyhow, I do it every morning. And I write down a set of affirmations. One of the first things I write down is today is going to be, and I put a word in there, and I change the word from day to day. It's not always an awesome day. It might be a productive day. It might be a glorious day. It might be a wonderful day. But I always start my day off with telling myself that today is going to be a good day. Today's going to be an awesome day. And it really works. It really helps to rid your mind of negative thoughts. Oh, what if this goes wrong? Oh, what if that goes wrong? Oh, what if I call that person and they tell me no? Today is going to be an awesome day, period. And I'm going to find awesomeness in it, and I'm going to make awesomeness out of it no matter what happens. So rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. When presented with an opportunity, rich people see the opportunity. Poor people see the risk, fear the loss. So you're sitting there, you're about to pick up the phone. Do you fear the rejection, or do you see the opportunity? Because it comes through the line. The person on the other end of the line can hear you. They can hear you. So it's been said that every opportunity has obstacles and every obstacle has opportunities. So the legitimate question is, where is your energy focused? So I told you we're going to go sailing on San Francisco Bay. We're standing next to the bay. Do you go, oh God, this is going to be a marvelous experience? Or do you go, oh my God, it looks pretty windy out there? Where's your head at? What do you see first? Do you see the opportunity or do you see the obstacle? It's afternoon. I hope you're getting value. We're about halfway through. I'm going to go ahead and stop it. Pick it up on Thursday. If I can figure out how to escape. Am I back? Am I back?
You're back. You're back.
Outwitting the Devil, yeah. The book is this. Tony Robbins, Master the Game. 7 simple steps to becoming, or 7 simple steps to financial freedom. I put a blog post up yesterday that if you go there, there's a link in that blog post that will take you to where you can get this book for free at this time for $7.95 shipping and handling charge. No charge for the book. And because it really was a $20 or $30 book, I think. I don't know. I don't know what the original price was. But it doesn't matter. It's, it's not a light weekend read, but it's a really good book. And it's a really good book to help get you to understand the financial industry. For example, most people think if they have their money in a 401k, they're safe. Tony shows you wrong. 96% of 401ks do not beat the market over any 10-year period of time. There's so much stuff that most of us who aren't immersed in the financial world don't know and we take for granted. And this is a good place to begin to clear out some of that. So anyhow, I hope you're getting value. Like I said, we're about halfway through, and I'm going to pick it up again on Thursday. We'll see how many of you come back. That'll tell us how much value you got, right? And I hope you're going to have a wonderful, next couple days. May your favorite candidate win, and if your favorite candidate doesn't win, let's reunite and bring this country back together. We still have the greatest country on earth. We still have the greatest opportunity on earth for everybody. There's no place else like it, and believe me, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been to a lot of countries. There's no place like it. But we need to reunite it, and we need to bring it back together. Let's just hope that can happen. We are going to do, at 5 o'clock, we have Digging for Gold today. We're continuing to dig through Twitter. And at 6 o'clock tonight, I am doing the weekly Asante webinar again. Woo. So that's what the rest of the day brings. So hopefully we'll see some of you, if not all of you, at 5 o'clock for Digging for Gold. And we'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful day. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I haven't seen any. No rotten tomatoes being thrown at me.
They've been pretty quiet.
I know.
Are you guys still there?
It says they are.
Linda, okay. Yeah, that was awesome, Len. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. See you at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Bye for now.